morning to some, good afternoon to others, depending on the time zones you are in. On behalf of the organizing committee, it is my privilege to extend a cordial welcome to all our esteemed guests of honor. The Honorable Vice Chancellor of Krishna Kanta Hadik State Open University, Guwahati, India, Professor Kandarpa Das, or distinguished Rector of Jawaharlal Nehru University, Professor Chintamani Mahapatra, the esteemed Olga Pavlenka is not here. So, our distinguished guest, Professor Igor Ishanalievich Abilgaziev, Director of Institute of Asian and African Countries, M.V. Lomonosov, Moscow State University, Russia. Respected Director, Russian Center for Science, Culture and Education in Mumbai, Mr. Sergei Fandiev. Respected Dean of a School of Language, Literature and Culture Studies, Jawaharlal Nehru University, Professor Ainul Hassan. Respected Professor Boris Zakharin, Head, Department of Indology, Institute of Asian and African Countries, Moscow State University. And respected Professor Alexander Stolяров. От имени Аркомитета я приветствую вас всех. Добро пожаловать. I would like to thank you all for taking the time out of your busy schedule to attend the inaugural session and support us and encourage us. Благодарю вас всех за ваше участие и поддержку, несмотря на занятость. Respected professors and dignitaries, dear participants, on behalf of the organizing committee, I welcome you all to a conference on methods and challenges in translation and translation studies in Russian and South Asian languages. Мы рады приветствовать всех вас, собравшихся на эту конференцию. Translation studies is one of the most important fields. As we know, no community, no country, no nation can prosper in isolation. Dialogue among civilizations and cultures is very important for further progress. And the role of translation is immense in this dialogue. Those who have the experience of translation, I think, will fully agree with me if I say that for translating any piece of work, any text, the knowledge of language is just not enough. There are various other factors which play a defining role. In today's conference, as the title suggests, the topic of discussion would be related to various issues and challenges related to translation. More than 500 participants have registered for this conference, or participants are from various cities of India, Russia, from Belarus, Uzbekistan, Turkey, United Kingdom. We have around 60 paper presenters. On behalf of my colleagues, I would like to express our gratitude to Professor Zakharin, Professor Khaklova, and Dr. Indira Gazieva for proposing this conference. 4 universities, 2 from Russia and 2 from India, joined hands to organize this conference. I would like to introduce the organizers of this conference. They are Professor Sergei Serebriany, Professor Alexander Stolyrov, Dr. Indira Gazieva from Russian State University for the Humanities, Moscow, Professor Boris Zakharin, Professor Ludmila Khaklova, Dr. Guzel Strelkova, and Dr. Anil Janvijay from Institute of Asian and African Countries, Lomonosov Moscow State University, Russia, Professor Kandarpa Das, Dr. Prasenjit Das, Dr. Niva Rani Fukan, and Dr. Mrinal Jyoti Goswami from Krishnakanta Hadik State Open University, India, Dr. Kiran Singh Verma, Dr. Ajay Kumar Karnati, and Dr. Sonu Saini from our university, Jawaharlal Nehru University, India. I hope you all will enjoy the sessions which will cover the issues of translation concerning various fields like linguistic, literature, media, and film studies, and so on. Now, I would like to request the Honorable Vice Chancellor of Krishnakanta Hadik State Open University, Guwahati, Professor Kandarpa Das, to say a few words to encourage our participants.
So, можно тогда попросить Игорь Ишанильевич, наверное, он здесь, да? Maybe now invite Igor Ishanilevich Abelgaziev, the Director, Institute of Asian and African Studies, to address the gathering. Professor Igor Ishanilevich.
Again, he has to unmute himself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Так, звук у меня включен.
Да, все включен.
Да, спасибо большое за приглашение, за возможность выступить на столь уважаемом форуме. Я хочу от лица Московского государственного университета, ректора Московского университета, академика Виктора Антоновича Садовнича, горячо поприветствовать всех участников сегодняшней конференции. Наверное, не случайно мы собрались в день, когда празднуется Международный день переводчика. И сегодняшняя конференция, я поздравляю всех с нашим общим праздником, поскольку мы все являемся переводчиками и являемся теми носителями, которые дают возможность людям общаться друг с другом, общаться не просто так, а познавать друг друга, познавать культурные, научные, литературные ценности разных народов. И в этом, я считаю, призвание наших университетов, которые готовят специалистов с совершенным знанием языков. Я хочу сказать, что Московский государственный университет и Институт стран Азии и Африки, особенно кафедра индийской филологии во главе с профессором Захариным Борисом Алексеевичем, уделяют очень большое внимание тому, чтобы наши студенты могли прочувствовать языки и в своей дальнейшей работе, когда они являются уже серьезными специалистами, чтобы они познавали те ценности народов, языки которых они изучают. Особенно это касается народов Южной Азии, народов Индии. И мы стараемся сейчас сделать так, чтобы охватить весь комплекс, весь спектр индийских языков, расширяем их. У нас изучается несколько индийских языков. И я считаю, что вот эта работа по переводу, которая сейчас осуществляется нашими учеными, она очень важна для сближения наших народов, для того, чтобы народы России и Индии друг друга лучше знали. Я по своему опыту, когда работал в молодежных организациях, очень тесно общался с индийскими писателями, и молодыми индийскими поэтами, которые переведены у нас на русский язык. И я хочу, чтобы и наши молодые поэты, и наши молодые писатели тоже были знакомы индийскому читателю. Я желаю конференции успехов, всем вам доброго здоровья, несмотря ни на какие, значит, опасные поветрия, мы тем не менее общаемся, мы видим друг друга, и эта радость общения, я думаю, позволит нам выработать еще больше новых совместных проектов, интересных начинаний. И в этом плане я желаю всем большого успеха и доброго здоровья. Спасибо большое.
Спасибо. Спасибо вам огромное, профессор Abil Gaziev. Now we may request Professor Kandar Padas, he's back, he's joined, to address the gathering. Professor Kandar Padas. Yes, sir.
Audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Can you come please a bit closer to the mic, sir?
Okay. So, good morning, colleagues from Moscow, and good afternoon, all our colleagues from India and other parts of the Southeast Asia. In fact, I am a co-organizer of this conference, but I am taking the privilege since I am the Vice Chancellor. So, other people I think will also be speaking, but thank you for giving me this privilege to speak in the beginning. In fact, we are proud to be associated with this conference. I am very glad to see our esteemed colleagues from JNU, Professor Mahapatra, our Dean, colleagues from Mumbai, from the Russian Cultural Center, colleagues from Moscow, and our all friends from Moscow, my colleagues from JNU, CRS, my alma mater, and all our invited guests. My university, it's a new university, it's hardly 12 years old, but nevertheless, the name of the university is associated with a person who happens to be closely associated with the very spirit of this conference, that is translation and cultural studies. Krishnakanta Hondikoi, who is a polymath of Assam, mainly studied various European languages in 1920s. When he went to Oxford for his higher studies from all over from Assam. When he was in Moscow, or while he was in Oxford, he studied almost all European languages, and also the Russian. And in fact, in many of his articles, he has declared his love and inspiration, admiration for the Russian language. I'll just give some example what he wrote about the Russians. In 1926, he basically went to Germany, Berlin and Paris, and almost for 5 to 6 years he spent in Paris and Berlin just to study Russian language and literature. When he came back in 1927 to India, he carried along with him thousands of books on European languages and almost 1,200 books on Russian. Some of the books, those books which he have gifted to the Guwahati University Library, still it's in there's a special section of Krishnakanta Hondikoi section in the library. You will find books published in 1878, 1890, 1911, 1912, mainly published from Berlin and Paris and London. So his love and admiration for Russian and Russian language, along with other European language, we can see what he wrote during those days. I'll just give you just example of 2 or 3 essays which he wrote in 1920 and 1926. In 1920, when he was just 22 years old, just reached Oxford for his higher studies, he wrote a beautiful essay which is called On Translation, or you can translate it like the story of translation. In that essay, he was referring to a debate between the president of Ahom Sahitya Sabha, that's a literary society of Assam, and a gentleman called Syed Maulavi Rahman. When the president of Literary Society was in a conference, he said that we should not encourage translation much, because for a developing language and literature, sometimes translation may not help but may hamper in development of a language. Contradicting the statement of the president, who was much older to him, the young man, Krishnakanta Handikoi, he was just a student in Oxford, but a well-read person. He wrote that translation is no way can be a barrier for development of a language and culture. Rather, for a language and literature to develop, the translation is a great help. And in that essay, he has given plenty of examples, some examples which he gave about the Russians, about the period of Ekaterina, the Catherine the Great, when the Russian language and literature was not so developed, but because of the patronation of Ekaterina, the empress, who specially took interest in getting the works translated of the all English, German, French literature to translate it into Russian. And she has almost created a fund for getting that translation of all this literature. She created a fund of 5,000 rubles in those days. Krishnakanta Handike also gave an example that such thing happened that the rector of Kazan University himself has translated the whole encyclopedia of Diderot in Russian language in those days. He had given an example of Karamzin, Zhukovsky, all the poets and writers of that period, who took special interest in translating those languages, the literature into Russian. And he argued that it may not help directly for developing Russian language, but the translation of those literature help in creating a great deal of readers in Russian literature. And that definitely indirectly helped the Russian language and literature. So Krishnakanta Handikoi was arguing for translation in 1920 when he was a young man, and in his later life, throughout his life, he has written about the Russian language, Russian literature, how Russian writers reacted, how Russian writers encouraged translation. Not only that, he wrote his famous essay on Russian language and literature, where he gave an example of various translation, various poetries, which he translated into Assamese and gave it for the Assamese reader. In 1926, when he was in Paris, he attended the spectacle, that's a drama from the Mahat, Vishnu Visad. And after watching that play by Mahat in Paris, he wrote an essay called The Russian Theatre, where he greatly admired the beauty of Russian language. And he said that before he went to the play, he read the play in Russian. That was an interest taken by an Assamese in 1920s for Russian language. And I'm very proud that my university is named after him. So it's a special association of the Krishnakanta Handikoi with Russian language and literature. And we are very proud to be associated with the conference, which is actually related to translation of the translation, theory of translation, various aspects of translation, especially with Russian. So I will not speak for a long. Once again, I definitely would like to say that my university is taking special interest in translation of Russian literature into Assamese, taking the inspiration from Krishnakanta Handikoi and carrying out his legacy for studying of Russian language and literature in this part of the country. And we would be gladly being associated with any other conference and seminar organized in this line. So with this, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to speak before you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Das, the Honorable Vice Chancellor. And we agree that the importance of the translation is very much not in the country, but on whole planet. And we also would like to congratulate the day, the International Day of Translators today. So with this, maybe we may request the Honorable Rector, Professor Chintamani Mahapatra, to address the gathering. Professor Mahapatra.
Namaste, good morning, good afternoon to all the delegates, Professor Das, Professor Ranjana Banerjee, and the entire organizing team, very distinguished participants, professors, students. Greeting from JNU to all of you. At the outset, I would refer to what Professor Das was giving an example of someone who said, translation may not help, it may hinder. That is correct. But translation also helps. It may also hinder. What is important is nobody can go without translation if we really want to have good communication, intercultural, interlingual, or even international. Without translation, proper communication cannot take place. Like many subjects, translation studies may not be perfect. Translating any language into any other language is not going to be easy. It has its own challenges, own theories, own complications, and it is never perfect. But even then, the way the translation studies has expanded around the globe is remarkable. Sometimes I wonder, when the British came to India for the first time, did they understand any Indian language? No. But did they manage to control such a large territory? Yes. When the Genghis Khan came and attacked and established the largest empire in the world, did Genghis Khan know all the languages? No, but he managed. But those days were different. And today, the things are different. In a globalizing world, it is extremely important to have more and more translation of more and more languages for political reasons, for strategic reasons, for business and economic reasons. More we understand each other, different cultures, different people, better it is. There are 7 billion people in the world, 7,000 languages in the world. Every language may not be translated into every other language. In fact, those who are studying literature or those who are learning a foreign language, that is an extremely important thing. But the moment you translate, then vast number of masses in the respective cultural setting will be able to gain the knowledge from some other language. That is why it is also going to add to the existing knowledge and understanding of people about different cultures. Now, long time ago, when I myself was a student and I was doing research, I understood the importance of translation. I'll just give you one example. The Filipinos, the people in the Philippines, they were having a freedom struggle against the Spanish control, the Spanish colonial rule. And then the Americans butted in and said that we are going to help you to fight the Spaniards, remove them, liberate you, and then we go back. Now, how did all this happen? General Dewey, who went to the Philippines, he was talking to somebody, Mr. Aguinaldo, who was just like Gandhi of India, who was the leader of the freedom struggle. And here, Mr. Aguinaldo knew nothing about English. And Mr. Dewey did not know the Tagalog language. But there was a discussion. And in the discussion, there was a promise from the Americans to the Filipinos. And how did the discussion take place? It is through an interpreter who could understand both the languages. Now, apparently, according to the Philippine text, General Dewey made a promise. We have come here to liberate you. Once the war is over and the Spaniards are out, you become free, liberated. We have just come to help you. Now, the war continued for about a few weeks. It was very easy for the Americans to defeat the Spaniards. But suddenly the Filipinos realized they are not going. The Americans are not going. And then when Aguinaldo told the Americans that you made a promise like this, and why are you staying on? Then General Dewey said, I said nothing like that. Actually, he promised or did not promise. It all depended on the guy who was really translating. So in this age of fast communication, both by the businessmen and the tourists and the politicians and the diplomats, even now we need the translators and the interpreters. And the role is so important. If the person who is translating is not able to convey the real meaning to his boss, imagine what kind of impact it would have even in the relationship between the two countries. That is why I think our Center for Russian Studies in JNU is doing a wonderful job. And this is a very strong and very old center which is studying Russian language. And I personally feel very honored to have been invited to give the inaugural because Russia happens to be one of the best friends of India, through thick and thin. It is a time-tested friend. More and more Indians understand the Russian language and vice versa. The Russians understand the Indian culture, Indian people, and even Indian languages. Better it is for the relationship between the two nations. Today, it is not just translation and the Russian language is not just important for India, but for the entire world. And why is that? Russia continues to be one of the most important players in world affairs. It is fine that the Russian economy is not as good as maybe the European or the American economy. But in geopolitical terms, Russia happens to be the only country in the world which can physically threaten the existence of the only superpower in the world. It is a powerful country playing an important role in international affairs and business and communication. That is why this particular theme of the conference is so important. I'm so heartened to see 146 people in this webinar trying to understand different dimensions of translation and translation studies. So I would like to wish best of luck to all the participants. I'm sure after the end of this particular webinar, all of you will be more knowledgeable on the field than before. And that is why my best wishes with all of you. And thank you very much again, Professor Ranjana Banerjee and Professor Das, for inviting me to give the inaugural address. Thank you very much and best wishes. Namaste, good morning, good afternoon.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for your enlightened word. Of course, you have just really enlightened the importance of Russia in India and India in Russia. It's really motivating for all the participants. Now we would request Professor Alexander Stolярov, Professor Chair, Area Study and Foreign Policy, Russian State University for Humanities, to give the message of Olga Pavlenko, the Prorector.
Thank you very much. I'll speak in Russian because the message was written in Russian. Уважаемые коллеги, приветствую участников международной научно-практической онлайн-конференции «Актуальные проблемы перевода и переводоведения в русском и южноазиатских языках», посвященной Дню переводчика 30 сентября. Приятно, что организаторами этой конференции выступают РГГУ, ИСА МГУ, Университет имени Джавахарлала Неру, Открытый государственный университет имени Кришны Канта Хандике и Российский центр науки и культуры в Мумбаи, Индия. Прежде всего, хочу отметить высокий научный уровень конференции, поднимающий актуальные проблемы по переводоведению языков Южной Азии в целом. В эпоху бурного развития международных отношений и разностороннего сотрудничества России с зарубежными странами переводчик остается ключевой фигурой межкультурного диалога. И здесь приоритетной задачей высшей школы остается совершенствование подготовки и повышение квалификации специалистов в области теории и практики перевода для внутреннего и международного рынка переводческих услуг. Весьма радует, что на конференции обсуждается место и роль русского языка в переводах на языки Южной Азии, что существенно расширяет рамки двустороннего русско-индийского научного диалога и приобретает многосторонний формат обсуждения проблем теории и практики перевода. Программа конференции свидетельствует о важности проблемы профессиональной подготовки будущих переводчиков, обсуждения лингвистических, литературоведческих и философских аспектов перевода, истории перевода, переводческой практики, проблемы дидактики перевода и прочее. Я желаю международной конференции плодотворной работы, конструктивного диалога и больших успехов. Первый проректор по научной работе РГГУ Российского государственного гуманитарного университета Ольга Вячеславовна Павленко. Спасибо.
Thank you very much. Спасибо большое,
I
уважаемый Александр Александрович. Да, пожалуйста.
just want to say on behalf of the organizing committee, I would like you to convey Professor Olga Vyacheslavna Pavlenka our gratitude for supporting this conference.
Спасибо. Спасибо. Так, теперь следующий у нас, next we have the director Sergey Vasilyevich Fanjev, but due to some issue, he's not able to join at this moment. So maybe we request Professor Syed Ainul Hassan, the Dean of School of Languages, Language, Literature and Culture Studies, to address the gathering. Professor Syed Ainul Hassan, over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sonu. Professor Chintamani Mahapatra, Rector, Professor Kandrappa Das, VC, Professor Kakhare, Professor Ishani Ravich, Professor Ranjana Banerjee, Chairperson, Dr. Kiran Singh Verma, Dr. Ajay Kumar Karnati, Dr. Sonu Saini, dignitaries from Russia, Belarus, UK, Turkey, Uzbekistan, and host of other countries. Let me just, confess that this is a very interesting subject of discussion. And I really congratulate the Center for Russian Studies to bring forth such a important subject of discussion. Now here I would like to make a few points regarding methodology of translation. Now, a pertinent question is being set forth. Why is a text translated? And who is the one who can translate a text? It's a big question. There are two questions. That is one, I consider it one question, because you see, answer is simple one. But let me just give you one example that Aurangzeb, the Mughal Empire, in his last days, confessed and wrote in Persian, Daste Khali Amade Budam, Daste Khali Miravam. And the translation is that I came to this world empty-handed and leaving this world empty-handed. Now, but the translators translated it like this, that I am leaving this world without doing anything. Now, Aurangzeb is no more. Otherwise, the repercussions could have been different. So therefore, anybody or everybody cannot be trusted to translate a text. This is a great responsibility and needs to be discharged by the one who is adequately equipped with general literary background and also broad knowledge of the subject matter under translation. Now here I would like to make very clear that there is difference between scientific and literary translation. Often scientific and literary translation both are mixed together. Many think that the two are synonymous. Scientific translation is simple and straight journalism. As I said, simple and straight journalism, which is broadly concerned with the thoughts and ideas expressed by the original author. Whereas literary translation is concerned with communicating to the readers what is and what should be the interest of the author in the process of writing a text, telling the readers what is new and what is news about the document rendered. And therefore, I have outlined certain things. And the following may be the broad outlines. That first one is the content. A work merely allows reviewing or modifying of its information by anyone and has to be presented exactly in the same manner as it has been produced in a format by the original author. And remind you that it should not be treated as an open content, which is alternatively monopolized to facilitate the democratization of knowledge, etc. So this should be kept in mind, the content particularly. Second is news feature. It is a detailed representation of text in an interesting form adopted by rapid reading as a rapid reading for the purpose of entertaining and informing the average person. This is important, you see. Entertaining in the sense that there must be some interest of reading and then passing on information to the reader. Then there is something which we call promotion of a story. Promotion of a story without changing the original thoughts and ideas, of course. It is duty. A translator is duty bound, and it is duty of the translator which should be discharged according to the set parameters. Then there is something called propagation of subject matter. This is a mode of communication aimed at influencing the attitude of a reader towards some cause or position. This is very important. Propagation of subject matter is totally opposed to impartially, or in a staggered manner providing information without keeping in mind its most basic sense that represents objectives primarily to influence the reader. And propagation often presents facts selectively. And thus, such an act encourages a particular synthesis or usages with loaded messages to produce an emotional rather than rational response to information presented. And the desired result is a change of attitude towards the subject in the target language. It may be, you see, fulfill the personal agenda. Then what is an ideal translation? This should be the focus. An ideal translation should be conveyed to its reader a sense of what is book about, its plot, characters, theme, whether or not the author has accomplished what he has set out to do, and to give the readers complete view based upon standards of writing, not only writing, taste and experience also. But what is not a translation? This is also very interesting, that people keep on writing editorial or themes. See, this is not a translation. Using the book for writing essays. I have seen, you see, expanding the realm of translation by adding something and then self-imposing opinions. People often impose their opinion and denouncing a text on the basis of translator's own ideology or conviction. I have seen Rajim Wala's translation of our professor of philosophy, Suman Gupta, and he being, from a different set of mind, you see, he, translated in a very, very vague manner. And then there are certain, minimum essentials for a translation. What is? This is easy access to subject matter. One should have access to the subject matter and the required information about the author. I'm just concluding. And then knowledge about the other works by the same author in the same field. This is also important. And then an appraisal, preferably indirect through description and exposition in terms of the aims and purposes of the author. This is very important. One should know the purpose of the author. Last but not the least, the art of translation included the cultivated gift of rapid reading, where you skim over the words while absorbing the ideas behind them. And for a professional translator, has to read many books in a very short span of time and must keep the deadline, come what may. And on the basis of these points, one can discuss virtues and shortcomings of the translated text. And I'm sure that during the course of discussion, this will be discussed extensively, but keep in mind that often a translation appears better than the original text. Be careful. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Hassan, for giving the outline on methods, ways, and purpose of translation. Thank you very much. I think this will be discussed in the sections with your introductory words. Now we'll request the Director of Russian Center for Science and Culture in Mumbai, Dr. Sergei Fanziev. Sergei Vasilyevich, приглашаем вас.
Namaste, dear colleagues. Good afternoon, dear friends.
Namaste.
First, I'm very glad to welcome all of you, especially Ranjana Banerjee, Professor Igor Abugaziev, Professor Stolarov, Professor Ira Gazieva, Dr. Sonu Saini, GNU officials, and all participants of this very nice conference. First of all, I'd like to congratulate all of us with the International Day of Translator, which is celebrated today all over the world. Dear colleagues, I'd like to ask you one question. Tell me, please, what is the most important thing between humans, men, women, peoples, nations, or states? Of course, that is, first of all, an understanding. And how to reach an understanding? First of all, it is preferable to speak the same language. But how people can speak the same language? If only in India there are more than 440 languages and more than 2,000 of dialects. And over the world there are more than 7,000 languages. So we can certainly say that the job of a good translator is one of a big importance in our world today. In the United Nations, for example, there are 6 official working languages: English, Russian, French, Spanish, Arab, and Chinese. All languages are good, but of course everybody is praising his own native language. I will tell you a small story about my native Russian language. When I was studying English and French in the Moscow People's Friendship University, my beloved professor of French, Galina Oleynik, one day asked us students, "Tell me please, what is the English language?" "This is a language of all businessmen all over the world," she answered. "What is a German?" This is a language of philosophy and correct and strict man. What is the Italian? Italian, this is a language of music, opera, dancing, etc. What is the French? This is a language of poetry, songs, romance, amour, toujours, etc. And what about the Russian language? This is, my dear friends, all together, she told us. English, German, Italian, and French merged in one Russian language. Those who know Russian language can understand and approve this job. You will know that to translate from Russian to another language is not easy. Why? Because due to its many specific suffixes and diminutive endings. Russian is very colorful and very imaginative. And to be a good translator from Russian to English or Hindi or to Asian languages, for instance, and vice versa, means not only to know well the Russian language and speak it fluently. It means to know very well the proverbs, the literature, the culture, the soul of Russian people. It means to be an artist and a grandmaster of words of the language. Karl Marx told once that to know one more foreign language is like to have one more soul. And you all know that is very true. Today, we will honor the translators, which are doing very interesting, very important job. They are connecting culture to culture, people to people. They are improving the understanding between them. They are the ambassadors of peace and harmony all over the world. And I thank all of them for their difficult, hard, but very, very useful work. Today, I call on all of you, exchange your experience, your professional secrets, congratulate each other and enjoy this possibility to be together. Thank you very much, dear colleagues and friends, for your kind attention. Jai Rusi Hindi Dosti. Thank you very much. Спасибо за внимание.
Thank you very much for your very enlightened word, Dr. Panjeev. Now we'd request Professor Boris Zakharin, Professor Head Department of Indology, ISA, Moscow State University, to address the gathering. Professor Boris, over to you.
I'm here.
Да. Просим вас сказать некоторые слова.
Обязательно. Dear friends and colleagues, I greet you all. Good afternoon and good day. To some of you it is time already. And I'm very happy to participate and hope you also do the same in this wonderful international conference on translation, which is held and organized by 4 universities, 2 of India and 2 of Russia. As the main subject is translation into Russian and from Russian, so I'll shift to my native tongue, that is into Russian. Позвольте мне сказать несколько слов о том, что собой представляет и институт, в котором я работаю, и кафедра, которой я руковожу. Институт стран Азии и Африки, in English it is called Institute of Asian and African Studies, not languages. Это факультет Московского университета. Вся разница только в том, что некоторые дополнительные права имеет директор нашего института. А так, во всем остальном, это обычный факультет Московского университета. Что кафедра индийской филологии совсем небольшая. У нас всего 9 человек. И, в общем-то, по крайней мере, половина работающих занята в той или иной степени переводом. И я бы хотел сказать, что одни из самых активных в области перевода художественных текстов с языков Индии на русский язык – это Анастасия Гурия, научный сотрудник, специалист по литературе и языку хинди. Она, несмотря на свой, в общем, совсем молодой возраст, перевела уже 3 книги стихов, в частности, избранная Кунвара Нараяна, стихи Лилидгара Мандлой и еще одну работу, где представлены разные выборки из стихотворений разных индийских поэтов. Кроме того, она перевела на русский язык роман Ярмагадда Лакшми Прасада «Драупади». Другой автор, который тоже усиленно занимается переводческой работой, это доцент Стрелкова, у которой несколько работ по переводу индийских поэтов на русский язык, в том числе она переводила Кунвара Нараяна, избранная, значит, стихи Кришна Бальдева Вайда, и, наконец, значит, переводила с маратхи Пады Намдева в содержащиеся в Ади Грантхе. А из недавних ее работ это два перевода, значит, трактатов или текстов, вернее, посвященных Махатме Ганди. Один из них это «Хинди Сварадж», перевод с хинди и английского, а второй это послание Бхагавад-гиты самого Ганди. Кроме того, у нас вот, так сказать, работает известный мастер перевода Анил Джавиджая, который, в общем, переводил очень много работ с русского на хинди, и прозаических, и стихотворных. В частности, переводил прозу Бунина, Раскина, Шолохова, роман «Они сражались за Родину». Выпустил сборник относительно недавно, 2 года назад, на хинди «Современные русские поэты», где познакомил индийскую публику с очень многими авторами. Переводил Блока, Есенина, Маяковского, кого он только не переводил. И представил также вот 2 таких просветительских работы для читателей на языке хинди. Это «Жизнь Чехова» одна и «Жизнь Владимира Маяковского» другая. Так что он работает весьма плодотворно. Что касается нашей конференции, то ее значение, конечно, очень велико. И я хотел бы сказать о том, что перевод – это, в общем, ну, практически действительно, как уже говорили многие выступающие, он неотъемлем от просто всей, так сказать, жизни цивилизованного человечества. То есть с тех самых пор, когда наши далекие предки попытались вступать в контакты друг с другом, им требовалось, в общем, какое-то знание другого языка, представителей другого племени для общения. И таким образом, в общем-то, совершенно верной остается мысль такого замечательного российского лингвиста и филолога Льва Владимировича Щербы о том, что любой перевод, вообще говоря, предполагает, по крайней мере, двуязычие переводчика. Это действительно так. Верной остается и другая мысль Щербы о том, что перевод, в общем, обязательно предполагает хорошее знакомство с культурой соответствующего народа. И можно даже сказать, что это и есть цель, вообще говоря, переводческой работы. Потому что зачем, собственно, знакомиться с памятниками и произведениями чужих авторов, если не желать узнать больше о культуре соответствующего народа. Так что это всегда, так сказать, остается подтекстом любой переводческой работы в любой стране, в любом государстве. В этом смысле наше с вами сегодняшнее собрание весьма представительно. Уже говорилось о том, что участвуют, значит, представители 4 университетов, 2 российских и 2 индийских, массы, так сказать, участников из других стран, не только России и Индии. Немало просто присутствует всех, кто интересуется проблемами перевода. И с этой точки зрения сам состав участников обрекает, как бы, условно говоря, нашу конференцию на успех. Оного я и желал бы от всей души пожелать в дальнейшем. Итак, будем ожидать много интересных встреч в ходе этой конференции и ее результатов. Спасибо.
Спасибо большое, Борис Алексеевич. А теперь мы уже в конце открытия. То есть we are now towards the conclusion of the inaugural ceremony. I would request Dr. Kiran Singh Verma to please give vote of thanks. Dr. Kiran Singh Verma, over to you. Can you unmute your mic, please? The message must be there on your screen. Yeah, it's on now.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sonu Seni. Good afternoon. Хорошее утро, доброе утро всем. Поздравляем вас всех с Международным днем переводчиков. Honorable Vice Chancellor Krishnakanta Handik State Open University, Professor Kandar Padas, Honorable Director, Institute of Asian and African Studies, Moscow State University, Professor Igor Ishinelovich Abelgaziev, Honorable Rector, Jawaharlal Nehru University, Professor Chintamani Mahapatra, Honorable Rector 1, Scientific Education, Russian State University for Humanities, Moscow, Professor Olga Vyacheslavovna Pavlenka, Honorable Director, Russian Center for Science, Culture and Education, Mumbai, Mr. Sergei Vasilievich Fanjev, respected Dean, School of Language, Literature and Culture Studies, Jawaharlal University, Professor Saeed Ainul Hassan, respected Head, Department of Indology, Institute of Asian and African Studies, Moscow State University, Mr. Boris Alexeyevich Zakharin, respected Chairperson, Area Studies and Foreign Policy, Russian State University for Humanities, Moscow, Professor Alexander Alexandrovich Stolyrov, Chairperson, Center of Russian Studies, School of Language, Literature and Culture Studies, Jawaharlal Nehru University, Professor Ranjana Banerjee, esteemed dignitaries, distinguished delegates, our most valued invited guests, colleagues, students, and friends. On behalf of the Center of Russian Studies, School of Language, Literature and Culture Studies, Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi, India, it's my privilege to have been asked to propose a vote of thanks on the inauguration of the International Online Conference, Issues and Challenges in Translation and Translation Studies in Russian and South Asian Languages, organized in collaboration with Russian State University for the Humanities, Russia, Institute of Asian and African Countries, MB Lomonosov, Moscow State University, Moscow, Russia, Krishnakanta Handiki State Open University, Assam, India. I would like to place on record the contribution made towards the organization of this international online conference. First of all, I sincerely thank Honorable Vice Chancellor Krishnakanta Handik State Open University, Assam, India, Professor Kandar Padas, for not only sparing his invaluable time to grace the occasion, but also enlightening everyone with his commendable, informative inaugural speech. It gives me immense pleasure and pride to share with all of you that Professor Kandar Padas is an alumnus of our Center of Russian Studies, Jawaharlal Nehru University. He completed his PhD at Moscow State University, Russia. He is a specialist in the area of Russian language as well as Soviet and Russian literature. Уважаемые коллеги, участники гости, хочу поделиться с вами тем, что уважаемый ректор профессор Кандar Padas выпускник нашего центра. Его специальности русский язык и литература. Professor Kandar Padas, we are very grateful to you for being with us and addressing the virtual audience. Your presence is an honor as well as our pleasure. Our sincere gratitude to the Rector, Jawaharlal Nehru University, Professor Chintamani Mahapatra, for accepting our invitation and sparing his time out of his very busy schedule during this pandemic period and contributing towards the organization of the conference. We are getting constant support from our Honorable Vice Chancellor and Honorable Rectors in organizing online events during this COVID-19 period. Thank you very much, respected Rector, for delivering an interesting and informative inaugural speech, supporting us and appreciating our efforts. Our sincere thanks to our esteemed guest director, Russian Center for Science, Culture and Education, Mumbai, Mr. Sergei Vasilievich Panchiev, for his wonderful inaugural address in his powerful voice. Уважаемый Сергей Васильевич, мы очень благодарны вам за то, что вы приняли наше приглашение, и мы высоко ценим ваше присутствие. От имени нашего центра и других организаторов университетов хочу сердечно вас поблагодарить. I would like to express our sincere thanks to Rector 1, Scientific Education, Russian State University for the Humanities, Moscow, Professor Olga Vyacheslavovna Pavlenko for her inspiring inaugural address, read by Professor Alexander Alexandrovich. Уважаемая профессор Ольга Вячеславовна Павленко, спасибо вам огромное за такие интересные и информативные слова и за вашу поддержку. I extend my thanks to Professor Igor Ishinalievich Abulgaziev, the director of the Institute of Asian and African Studies, Moscow State University, for gracing the event and delivering an interesting and thought-provoking inaugural address. Уважаемый профессор Игорь Ишинальевич Абулгазиев от имени Центра русских исследований, Университета имени Джавахарлала Неру и других университетов-организаторов выражаю вам искреннюю благодарность за такие интересные и добрые слова. Our thanks go to the Dean of School of Language, Literature and Culture Studies, JNU, Professor Saeed Ainul Hassan, one of the very humble and polite professors, for his ever-willing support and always encouraging the faculty and students of the School of Language, Literature and Culture Studies, JNU, during this stressful, extraordinary situation. Thank you so much, respected Professor Hassan, for your enlightening speech on translation and translation studies. Our chairperson, Center of Russian Studies, Professor Ranjana Banerjee, as a chief coordinator, has organized more than 10 online events, including international conferences, webinars, and competitions in collaboration with different higher education institutes in India and CIS countries. During the period of COVID-19 pandemic, her painstaking efforts in making all these events successful deserve special thanks. Thank you very much, Professor Ranjana Banerjee, for constantly keeping us, the teachers and the students, engaged in teaching learning process during this period. I would like to express my deepest thanks and appreciation to one of our youngest colleagues, one of the members of the organizing committee of the international conference, Dr. Sonu Seni. Besides total technical support, he's always ready to extend his help for any kind of work related to the different events. I again repeat, day and night. He is the invitations designer, posters designer, certificates designer, program designer. He is the one who makes all the technical arrangements online and offline, handles the communication and so on. He's all in one. You can call him anytime. He never says we'll do it tomorrow or afterwards. And again, I'll repeat, there is no in his dictionary. His patience and dedication towards his duties and the excellent organizational skills have brought all other events and this conference a great success. Thank you so much, Dr. Sonu Seni. On behalf of Center of Russian Studies, I owe a huge debt of gratitude to the members of our organizing committee, Professor Sergei Dmitrievich Serebriany, Professor Alexander Alexandrovich Stalerov, Professor Indira Agilevna Gazieva from the Russian State University for the Humanities, Moscow, Professor Boris Alexeyevich Zakharin, Professor, мы очень благодарны вам, профессор Борис Алексеевич за такое информативное выступление о переводе разных художественных произведений и переводоведений. Thank you very much, Professor Lyudmila Viktorovna Khakhlova, Professor Guzel Vladimirovna Strelkova, Mr. Anil Janvijay from Institute of Asian and African Studies from M.B. Lomonosov, Moscow State University, Professor Kandarpa Das, Professor Prasenjit Das, Niva Rani Pukan from Krishnakanta Handiki State Open University, Assam, Professor Ranjana Banerjee, Dr. Ajay Kumar Karnati, our colleague from Center of Russian Studies, Dr. Sonu Seni from our university. Уважаемые коллеги, члены оргкомитета, поздравляем вас с открытием онлайн-международной научной конференции и от имени нашего центра примите мои искренние слова благодарности за организацию превосходной конференции, посвященной самой актуальной теме сегодня. Finally, we thank all the experts, specialists, and more than 500 participants from India, New Delhi, Kolkata, Vijayawada, Talegaon, Trichy, Tripura, Agra, Mysore, Kompally, Begusarai, Bolpur, Greater Noida, Nalanda, Chennai, Ahmedabad, Jaipur, Kalaburgi, Burgi, Habra, Kharagpur, Junagadh, and other cities. From Russia, from Moscow, Stavropol, Kazan, St. Petersburg, Pichigorsk, Tomsk, Vladikavkaz, Siversk, and other cities. From Uzbekistan, Turkey, United Kingdom, and other countries. Our colleagues from different universities in India and abroad, friends, students, and entire virtual audience from attending the inaugural, for attending the, for attending the inaugural ceremony of the conference and keeping all the pandemic-related stress and tensions aside. Благодарим вас всех за ваше активное участие в виртуальной конференции. И никого не заразить коронавирусом и сами избежать вирусной инфекции. Берегите себя и своих близких. Спасибо вам большое еще раз. И поздравляю вас всех еще раз с Международным днем переводчиков. Thank you all. Now I yield the virtual floor to Dr. Sonu Seni. Dr. Sonu Seni, please.
And on the behalf of organizing committee, would like to thank the excellent and lively presented with the charming, one of the most active teachers in Center of Russian Studies, Dr. Kiran Singh Verma. Of course, it's a collaborative event, and we are also thankful to you for your all support and help in organizing the conference here. Thank you very much. So without just taking long time, I'll just give you a brief that how this sessions will be conducted. As you can see the program, please see in the program, if you can open it right now, you can just see that there are total 8 sessions and 1 roundtable discussion at the end. So there will be 4 sessions at one time. So 4 parallel sessions will be conducted. There are 4 halls, E-halls, which we have called E-hall number 1, E-hall number 2, 3, and 4. So parallelly sessions will be conducted. So what you need to do is you need to click on the link which is given in the program on the top. Like for example, you can see session 1. You can see that session 1 is given, the title of the session is given, then the moderator or chair's name is given, and then link to E-hall number.
Не слышно?
Dr. Sonu, your voice is not audible.
Микрофон.
Is it audible now?
Yes, it is audible now.
Слабо.
I'm sorry for that. I would say thank you very much, Dr. Kiran Singh Verma, for giving this enlightened and live vote of thanks. And we are also, on the behalf of organizing committee, we are also indebted to you for all your support day and night. Of course, you were also with us whole days and nights in preparation of the conference. And now let us go to the sessions. I was just telling about that. There are, if you can just see the program right now, if it is in front of you, You can see that there are 8 sessions and 1 roundtable discussions. The 8 sessions are divided into 2 sections. That in first section, there will be 4 sessions. So that means like 4 sessions, which is going to be started as per Indian time. It's starting at 13:45, and as per Russian Moscow time, it's 11:15. So you can see that this session, if you can just click on the link which is given on the top of the session, like if you can see the first session 1A, the session name is given, title is given, chair is given, and then link to e-hall number 1. So then you need to click on the link or the door which is drawn right on the right side. Then you'll just get into that particular hall. I can see many people are joining the parallel sessions link. So you can also join it as per your interest. And as like the sessions are going parallel, we are making a recording. The lectures, the sessions are being recorded, and then later on they'll be uploaded on the respective websites of the universities who are organizing the conference. After that, like after the first section, which will over at 15:45, that means 3:45, then there will be a break of half an hour. Then we'll resume the next section, in which again 4 sessions will be conducted parallelly. After that, there will be a break of 15 minutes, and then all are invited to the roundtable discussion on the topic русско-индийская транскрипция и транслитерация. So that means Russian Indo transcription and transliteration. This will be a very permanent topic of the roundtable discussion. Everybody can join and talk and give their opinion. So roundtable discussion will be held in hall number 1, in currently which we are situated right now. After that, the valedictory session will be held in the same hall, hall number 1. То, уважаемые коллеги, еще раз спасибо вам большое, что вы присоединились сегодня на конференции. Хотел бы рассказать, что здесь 8 сессий, и 8 сессий производят на 2 секции. То есть в первой секции будут там 4 параллельные сессии. И, наверное, параллельные сессии, вы смотрите, вот в программе, только обратите внимание, что в программе указаны адреса, то есть ссылки той же секции. То есть если вы нажмете по программе, то вы войдете в такую же сессию. Я вижу, что это наши уже коллеги уже присоединяются в разные секции. То есть после этого у нас будет круглый стол, все приглашены. Круглый стол будет в зале номер 1, где мы находимся сейчас. И потом в зале номер 1 будет торжественное закрытие. Желаем вам успехов. Если у вас будут вопросы, конечно, вот там будут модераторы, в каждой сессии будут модераторы, вы можете написать ваши вопросы к спикерам в чате, и модератор вам, может быть, читает ваши, вот принимает ваши вопросы или дает вам микрофон. Вы можете или поднимать виртуальную руку. Желаем успехов, всего хорошего. Давайте теперь разделим по секциям, то есть по сессиям, которые вам интересны.
Простите, можно вопрос?
Да-да.
Нужно ли выходить вот сейчас из этой ссылки?
Если вы хотите остаться в сессии номер 1, который вот теория перевода и ее практическое применение, тогда вы можете остаться здесь. Если вы хотите в другой сессии, тогда выходите отсюда и присоединяйтесь и нажмите на ссылку, которая дан по той же сессии. So if you want to just stay in the session number 1A, then you may stay here. And if you want to join other sessions, then you can just leave the meeting from this hall and go to and join, click on the link which is given in the program on the particular hall. Thank you very much. I can see here in hall number 1, Irina Anatolievna уже здесь. Irina Anatolievna is already here. So we'll take, we are just making you host, Irina Anatolievna. And then after, like we'll take maybe 5 minutes break, and so that people can join other halls, and then we can come back to this hall. or maybe after 5 minutes, Irina Anatolievna, you can start. Irina Anatolievna, можете через 5 минут начать. Спасибо большое. Ирина Анатольевна, вы теперь co-host. Вы можете себе вот включить и выключить микрофон. И еще у вас будут здесь волонтеры. У вас будут волонтеры здесь. То есть, если какая-то помощь нужна, то есть вы можете позвать.
Помощь нужна. Хорошо,
В первой секции будет, в зале номер 1 будет Викрам, и в зале номер 2 будет Кришна, в зале номер 3 Прагья, и в зале номер 4 Харшита. И в круглом столе будет с нами Абинов. Всего хорошего, спасибо.